Good morning, everybody. This is Thursday, February 26th. This is the third Board of Selectpersons public budget hearing. I'm joined today, I'm Christine Vitale, first Selectperson, joined by Selectperson Swallier and Selectperson Cutchett. I ask you to all please rise for the pledge. Chieftain, will you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to be hearing from the last of the town departments today. We'll be taking public comment after each department presents and at the end of the meeting today. And we're going to start. We're joined by our town clerk, Betsy Brown.
Good morning, everybody. So I guess I will start with revenues.
This is page 30 on the budget book.
So I wish I could say revenues are up and expenses are down. However, revenues have increased. I projected an increase in conveyance tax due to the property value increases. We've had a bit of an increase in recording fees. And also in our certified copies, as people see more and more of our land records online, they have the convenience of printing them out at home and no need to come into the office. And we're not seeing as much traffic in the office, but there's a lot more traffic online, which is a good thing. As far as my expenses, there was an increase with my 3 vendors who are in charge of my records management system, which are all the land records, our maps, trade names, and military discharges. Laserfiche had an increase. I'm not the only department that's on Laserfiche. We started it, and we've brought engineering and the building departments on. So there was a slight increase with that. And also with E-Code 360, which has not had an increase since its inception.
Any questions?
Thank you, Betsy. I missed you at the Board of RTM.
Thank you, ladies. Any questions?
You know, that everybody would always ask you about the conveyance, and obviously I would think that we're not moving a lot of properties, right?
No, but it's just the values, you know, the prices have gone up, and that is where the increase has come from.
All right. Thanks. Thank you. Any public comment on the town clerk department? Seeing none, moving on to legal services. We have Attorney Pierce with us who can present the legal budget.
Hi, everyone. So a few changes. The total request is $785. The projected amount for litigation is up. That's largely a function of we have a lot of administrative appeals that are kind of in an early stage right now, but I'm expecting most of them will be worked up through the next fiscal year. They're largely related to the influx of housing applications that zoning had, and they're now up on appeal. Most of those are approvals, so in an approval, we don't typically have to spend too much time, but there's just a large number of appeals, and they're these are approvals, and there's an appeal brought by neighborhood groups typically is what's happening. Although we do have a few that applicants have brought. Tax appeals is, we are, as the board knows, finishing, or the reval is done now, and we've got a large number of appeals at the BAA. Those will start to work their way into court in the current fiscal year, and then, I'm anticipating, probably a lot of time in the next fiscal year on tax appeals. We won't know the total number of court cases probably until June. But, I am aware in talking to the assessor that there was a large volume of BAA filings, which is typical in a revaluation year. And this year and next year, we'll probably see a, pretty sizable number of appeals that get taken to court. I mean, sometimes in a revaluation year it's 50, sometimes it's 200. There can be a pretty big variance. Charter's obviously done, so that's taken out of the budget. And then on UI, this year we broke out the lobbyist, because the town does have a lobbyist to assist. So I thought that would just be clearer, because this is now something that we've had in the budget a couple years. So then the legal fee request before was really more like, 150 or so, 160. So now it's down to 125 for UI. The current status of that is a little bit uncertain. Obviously, I think everyone knows we won at the siting council level. UI can now take an appeal to Superior Court, which they may do to keep their options open. Town, will be exploring settlement with them. Separate from that, they probably, we don't know how far along they are in a redesign, but they could start the process of filing a new docket at any time. And we know that they intend to do that. So that request is down, but we're still anticipating a pretty significant amount of time being spent on that matter. And the other matter that's in litigation that is kind of was new for the current fiscal year and will continue for the next fiscal year is the pure litigation related to the RWA purchase of Aquarion. And the good thing about that is that we're representing 4 towns. It's 3 in addition to Fairfield, so the cost is not that significant because the town's only paying a quarter of the legal fees for that. But that will be ongoing.
What is that number?
What is the number?
Yeah.
For the fees?
What we're paying?
We're 25% of the fees. I can tell you in rough numbers what it's been to date. Hold on. This is going to probably cover more than one fiscal year, though. So, let's see. The total billed life to date is 142,000. So the town is only paying 25% of that because we also represent New Canaan, Ridgefield, and Westfield. So it's very helpful that we have 4 towns involved.
And is that included in the overall?
That's included, yeah.
So, is it
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, good.
So far to date, since 24, we've spent 570,000 on the UI, including the lobbyists.
It's probably more than that.
Really?
Because the first year that the litigation happened, there was a Board of Finance transfer, I think, of about 500,000 for that year.
Right.
That included a significant amount that the town needed to pay for experts. So that includes expert costs. But yeah,
So it's
that year was a significant amount.
So it's almost $1 million total.
It's probably less than that, but it's probably approaching $1 million. But that goes back to, that goes all the way back to 2023.
Right.
So in regard to tax appeals, so part of 25-26, you assume that there would be some increased costs. It's only 10,000 a year compared to like a normal non-appeal year.
So for 24-25, so we had a number of appeals that were from the prior revaluation. And when you get near the end of a revaluation cycle, most of the cases that are left, you end up trying. We only have actually tried one, as it turned out. We were able to settle more than we anticipated. So that's why that number was projected to be what it was, because we anticipated having 5 or 6 trials at that time. We have one case from the prior evaluation left. I don't know right now whether it'll be tried or not. So that's why that number was what it was. For 25-26, part of the first, we'll start getting appeals hitting in May and having to start dealing with those court cases. It also anticipated some additional time with the assessor dealing with questions that may arise related to the BAA hearings or other opinions.
Do you know what it was in 23-24?
What we budgeted?
Yeah. I'm just curious the difference.
I think it was, I don't remember offhand, but it was somewhere probably around 120 or 140. The 150 for the current fiscal year might be light. If we get a ton of appeals, but I don't want to project like a bad case outcome, so.
I think there's gonna be a lot.
I mean, there could be, there's a new statute that's applicable to this revaluation. It was not applicable to the last revaluation. So the taxpayer, if their property is assessed for more than $1 million, they have to file an appraisal with the court within 120 days of making the appeal. So that, right or wrong, from a policy perspective, that's the law now. So it does create a burden on the taxpayer because they have to go out and get an appraisal typically. And that is an expense. And sometimes when you get the appraisal, it doesn't justify a reduction, so.
So, you see them, I mean, the legal services went up substantially from 23, 24, 25, from 741 to a million, and down to 825, and now we're at 785. You feel like that's gonna stay that way, back to the way it was before, or?
Yes.
And that includes all, like, whenever you farm out work for whatever labor or, because it was mentioned during one of the other meetings, we have 4, I guess, unions negotiating right now. Is HR handling that by themselves, or they have outside counsel?
Yeah, I mean, they use Bircham Moses for most labor negotiations.
Hopefully, those will be done in this fiscal year.
And
Yeah,
those
so that-
fees are included
It
here?
includes that.
Is there money in contingency? Christine mentioned that we have one that potentially is going to arbitration.
No, well, I said there were nothing's right now. We're
But do we have some?
I can't speak to what's in contingency, but.
we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
I don't have anything further. Okay. Thank you for giving us this breakdown. I know it's hard because it depends. You don't know what necessarily is coming your way, but it's helpful just to see a kind of rough breakdown on how we spend our legal fees. And thank you for all that you do on so many different levels for the town. Any questions from the public? Or public comment on legal fees? Seeing none, we'll move on to fire. And this is on page 111.
So, good morning, and I guess we could start with revenue. Our main.
Just introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't introduce you.
Kieran Dunn, Acting Fire Chief. So let's see, starting with revenue, our 2 main drivers in the revenue is the PG grant, which is for emergency management performance. And that is pretty much, it's down slightly, but that's a per capita grant that we get for performing emergency management functions. Also, fire marshal fees, as you can see, it's up a little bit, and that's based upon prospective hypothesis of what our construction is going to be. So, fire department, our fire marshal's office does plan review for multi-residences and commercial properties and the like, but not single-family or duplex residencies. So we don't have the same drivers as the building department, but we try to figure on larger scale projects. So that's revenue. Any questions?
Revenue?
And then in our budget, you see certain things that are any of those changes that are raises in last year's are just basically built upon 3-year averages and the like. If there are any particular questions, please ask.
Staff, excuse me, those are based on the union contract raises?
Yes, so I think raises, right now there's contract negotiations, and I think those figures would be kept in contingency. So this is based upon the existing contract, which is, I believe, expired. So these would be those figures.
So Chief, you just introduced yourself as acting. I thought you had a contract.
Well, I'm still under my deputy contract, which ends in March 16, I think.
Oh, okay. I thought you, okay.
I don't have a new contract.
And how are we doing with our inspectors?
Our fire marshal's office, yes, so we do have 4 inspectors at this point. We did request more personnel in that, but that we don't see that in the budget.
Yeah, it says you requested 4, but here it lists 2.
No,
2 fire inspectors, 1 fire marshal, and 1 deputy fire marshal.
that's who we do have. So, I'm saying they're all generically called inspectors,
Okay.
or marshals, fire
Okay.
marshals.
Okay.
So yes, that's, we have 4 existing right now.
Okay. And
Fire
you
marshal.
requested more?
We did, because there are certain statutory requirements that we have to fulfill, and it's hard keeping up with those things, so, yes.
Right, I mean, just for the public edification, we front load the charges to people when they apply for their permit. And that encapsulates going back, whatever statutory requirement for the life of that,
Well, it's really not.
as long as you have to.
It's not as much for the life of it, because what really happens is it's sort of paying for our work going out now. I mean, it's hard to say that we're charging for the life of a building, because the buildings are got to be here for years. But we did have increased, we had a request for increased fees for these inspections, and they were passed by the fire marshals, by the fire commission recently, so.
Okay.
So it was last year's budget that we added, was it 4 or 5 lieutenants or chief?
Right, but that doesn't have to do with this, but that's another thing we did.
Yeah, that's
yes,
separate,
yes, that's
separate
very
question,
separate,
but
yes.
I just wanted to know like how that
Yes.
went this year, if you found that,
Oh.
like how it worked since
it's-
the change we made last year.
It's absolutely one of the best things that we ever did since I've been here, so, and I can't take credit for that. That came from the administration, so thank you very much. So what that was added supervision on our truck companies, our ladder and our rescue company. And you do need a crew leader, because what we do is very dangerous, and you need to have people who've studied, tactics and strategy. So it's a great thing to have that crew led by a lieutenant. So
I'm
thank you.
glad, I'm
Yes.
glad we added that last year, and it's been very helpful.
Yes,
Thank you.
very helpful. Thank you.
Piggybacking on that, Chief, so here it says Fire Lieutenant 27.6. Is that how many lieutenants we have?
Let's see, fire lieutenant. So that was fiscal year 26. So this year, it's, we have 28, it says 28. So we didn't have any change from last year to this year. I think it's just where it's attributed to.
What were we before last year? What number was that?
The year before, we had 1 less, and we added a training lieutenant down at the fire training school. So that's another great initiative that was added.
So it was only 1 less lieutenant 2 years ago?
Yes. Other than the 4 lieutenants. And they were not new positions, they were just taking firefighters and making lieutenants out of that position. So less firefighters and more lieutenants.
stated, the chief did ask for additional headcount, but just given the challenges of this budget year, we did not, I did not feel comfortable just adding headcount at this time due to budget constraints, and appreciate just working with the departments. We shared yesterday when we were talking about Board of Ed that there were asks from every department for, additional supplies, capital outlay, bodies, and given where we are with the revow and just the other expense drivers through our contractual obligations, tried to find reductions where we could, but want the board to know that this is something that we're going to be keeping an eye on and definitely be mindful for in, the year, hopefully next year, the year ahead. Any other questions about fire? No? All right, any public comment on fire? We'll go on to hydrant and water services.
So this budget, what it does is it provides for the system of water mains and fire hydrants that protect us. And it funds the rental of, we've got 14 million inch feet of mains, and we've got 1,578 hydrants in town. They're owned by Aquarian, the vendor. And so we pay rental fees, and these rental fees are based upon fees that they have had approved by Pura. So, and what it is, it's a per inch foot rental fee plus a per hydrant rental fee, and that, that comes together to our figure. And then what they do is they can also get some sort of surcharges and credits that they may be granted by Pura. So that's all in the formula, and we get a letter, an initial letter, so that we can start our budgeting in the fall, but then we get a final letter of what they believe the charges will be, and we got that the first week, each year we get it the first week of February. And so that's what we're basing our proposed budget on. So it's $1.6 million.
Any questions?
Just on not regarding the budget, but I know I read in the paper where you had that recent fire and that they had a problem with the hydrant. What can we do for that one?
It's a tough thing in the Northeast, New York, this whole area here too. I've had so many fires in my career where you had frozen hydrants. So normally the hydrants are made for the cold weather. They're made so that when you shut them off, the water drains out of the barrel of the hydrant, and goes into the ground in like rocks that are way underneath. So, but what happens is sometimes those drains don't work, they get clogged. Sometimes people put stuff in them. Sometimes it gets clogged by things in the water system. Sometimes it's age, sometimes it's rust or whatever like that. Sometimes these hydrants don't drain, and you really can't tell that they don't drain. When we use them during the nice weather, we're supposed to kind of listen to the water go down, sometimes put our hands on and see if you feel the suction, but you can't really tell if it's totally drained. So what happens is, what our SOP is that whenever you have a fire in weather, when it's usually, it'd be fine probably today, but when we had that long period of very, very cold weather, the best thing to do is go to a hydrant that you're going to hope to use, open it up, quickly turn it on, see if it turns on before you commit. Because otherwise, you've spent all your time committing, and then and then you try to open it up and you can't get it opened up. So what we try to do is open it up early on, and if not, go to Plan B. And Plan B might be, maybe it'll free up, but in the meantime, get another engine company to stretch to the next hydrant, stretch down to you and do a relay or whatever. I can tell you horror stories of some fires that I've been to in New York and here, and it's very disconcerting to the firefighters when they don't get water when they need it, because we have 500 gallons in each fire engine. That's a good start. We have 1,000 in a couple of our newer fire engines. We have 1,000-gallon tanks just for this. But in a house fire, a structure fire, you're going to need a permanent supply of water. So we always hope, that we're going to not have problems with hydrants. If we do find a hydrant after the fact, then there's things we can do. We can bring the water company in to steam them and everything like that. But during the initial part of a fire, you just don't know. And it's a difficult thing.
Is there like a protocol? When you work with the water company, go out and check them every so often? Or
Well, during the
test
cold,
them?
during the cold weather, you don't want to touch them
No,
in a way
of course
because anything you do then could disturb it. So that's the rub. So I have to say that Aquarian does do a lot of good maintenance on their hydrants. They are pretty good. And they're very responsive, if we have an issue, but sometimes these things are hidden things, and I don't know if there's any better way to deal with it other than us to assume that we may have trouble with any hydrant we pick. One good thing that we try to do is, though, and we ask people, dig out your hydrants, so, because you don't want to pack them with ice, so dig them out, maybe the sun can get at it, maybe that's going to help it a little bit. But, and especially it's going to help us find them because, we kind of know where they are, but sometimes, there's one in the corner here, but then you've got a big snow pile and you're saying, okay, was it here or there, So, it's a difficult time of year for us. And these fires, our people, they did just really such a good job where like anytime water hit the ground, it was freezing and people were slipping and sliding. And thank God nobody got hurt severely. I think Pat got hit in the face with something, but I had a recent fire. But it's a dangerous time for us, and our people did so well. So.
Could DPW assist you like in that? I know they always say ask the homeowners to, the residents to try to do it, but obviously with that much snow and if you have elderly people or whatever, do they kind of like, if they see?
That would be a good thing. If DPW could, like, if they see a hydrant, maybe just kind of sweep some of the snow away from it.
Right,
I don't know if they do that.
right?
That would be a better coordination, and I could talk to Frank Batiste about that. But homeowners kind of know where their hydrants are, and I do it for my hydrant because I just want there to be a path. If God forbid, me or my neighbors need a hydrant. So,
Thanks, Chief.
Okay.
I have a question that kind of reminds me of just knowing where our hydrants are. Mr. Batiste was here and he spoke about the GIS adding the analyst. And I know that we spoke about it, just a group of us after a department head meeting. Could you just share with the board and the public just how the fire department might use
So yes, we use
legal services and how an analyst might be
So
beneficial to you?
we use mapping for our response. So what we do is we'll get a map from the source, the initial source, and it's usually the engineering department here. And then what we can do is then we can get subsequent, or we can get from a company, say, I don't want to mention a company's name, but a particular company. But then what we can do is we can get particular layers and put that on top so that we can see a layer of hydrants. We can see a layer of underground storm sewers. Suppose like we have an oil leak or substance leak that goes down into the storm sewers. Well, where's that going to go? Where do we have to put booms and pads to where is that flowing to? So if we had on our maps a layer where we could say, okay, this is where the storm sewers go, or this is where maybe this is an underground cables. If we're able to get that from UI, if we're able to get things for any other sources, the gas mains and things like that, it would be helpful to us. Any information we get, we love to have. So in our fire engines and fire trucks, we all have dispatch iPads. And we've actually asked you for this one right there. But, we've also asked you in the 57000, the CapEx, for our budget, we've asked for some monies for that, which you've granted for, response technology replacement, because they need to be replaced every once in a while. But anyway, on these things, we do get information about our buildings, we get information about our hydrants, and hopefully we can get any layers that they can provide for us. More the better.
Have that information in there now?
We do have some things. We don't have anything on those other layers. We just have hydrants and we have building information that we've put in. Yes, but we're looking for even more if we can. And updates too, because what happens is these things aren't updated that often, and so now engineering is doing this, they could be updating for when you knock down the Masonic Temple and then you put up what was it, a 4-story building or, so there's big changes.
Buy it.
Yeah.
I think that we ran into that with the property on Sturgis that we purchased, that was on septic, just getting it onto the sewer line was challenging of knowing where the gas and electric were. So I think it's just that having that layered data and knowing that it's ideally the most current information. You rely on paper, it's reported yesterday, you just don't necessarily know. So thank you for that additional insight, and I just want to thank you and your departments. I was at one of the house fires at the beginning of the month, and just really terrifying, I think, just to see, first time I had ever seen that kind of damage so soon after an actual live fire, and you were banged up at that, Deputy Chief Barry. So we want to thank the fire department. Thank you all for your leadership. Thank you to our firefighters who put themselves in harm's way every time they go out for a call. You are our first responders, in addition to fighting fires, and we appreciate your service. We take great pride in the fact that our police and fire departments are among the best in the state and always looking to use technology to just better at your jobs, be safer for you and for the public. So,
Thank you.
on behalf of our community, thank you. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you to them, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any public comment on hydrant and water services? Okay, just a reminder, dig out your hydrants. Lisa Claire, if you're listening, upstairs, just making another reminder on social media. Okay.
More snow coming too.
Stop saying more snow is coming.
So
Bad
done.
4-letter word.
The 4-letter word.
Yeah.
All right, we're moving on to emergency management, page 131.
Okay, so emergency management is not that many changes there. I don't know if you had any questions, but anyway, what this budget does is it pays for a couple things. One of the budget lines pays for our communication system, our emergency communication system, Everbridge, when we send out the Fairfield alerts. Another line pays for our the mass casualty ambulance coordination and telemetry that happens between ambulances, in case there's a mass casualty and we have to call in mutual aid ambulances. Another one pays for our CERT team, and it's just $2,000, but it helps them be have protective gear and things like that. Our CERT team gives us hundreds and hundreds of hours each year of help in any situation. During COVID, they were the ones that helped us distribute COVID test kits and everything. I mean, they're amazing. During Superstorm Sandy, they ran a shelter for days, and they were actually, every time there's a storm or something coming up, we interface, and I always say, okay, are you ready just in case we need you? The other day we did for this storm, saying that if everything, things don't go right, are you ready? And they got back and they said, okay, we've got a crew to start up the shelter if you need, so let us know. They're always can-do. They're like the Seabees, they're can-do attitudes, so they're great. So.
They are, and for SantaCon, they were there helping us with just, as there were road closures, just directing
Traffic
traffic
control,
and
yes.
answering questions.
For the fireworks, they do
Fireworks,
traffic
just
control.
all
They're
our
great.
special events, and it's such a resource, and they're doing training, right?
I was
Yes.
just gonna ask when, just
Saturday.
for the
Saturday,
public,
yes,
tell us when.
yeah,
the
so
training-
what they have is, they have training, and you'll see some advertisements going around on the Parks Department website and also on some VMS boards. But they have 5 weeks of training. I think it's like an 8-hour day. So it's a big thing for them to give up the next 5 Saturdays. I have to teach one of the modules this Saturday. So, but it's gonna be fun. We usually get, we can get 20 or 30 new recruits each year, but it's their initial training. It's a FEMA-sponsored, type of thing. So they're getting, this is done all across the United States, and I think our team is just very, resourceful, and they're a home run for this town, definitely.
Agreed. Any further questions on emergency management?
No, they are amazing. I mean, they jumped into action during COVID.
They do.
Obviously.
Oh, yeah, they were so good, yeah.
And the vaccines and
Yep.
helping people sign up. I mean, they were really good.
They were, yeah.
Any public comment on emergency management? Seeing none, moving on to Regional Fire Training Center, and that is on page 215.
So the Regional Fire Training Center is, it's been, well, what happened was, there was always a fire training center down at the old Nike missile site down on Rod Highway. But in 2017, we opened a brand-new building. The state built it, and then it handed it over to the town to run. So we administer it. So what it is it's the Fairfield Fire Department's training facility for us, but it's also a state regional fire training school where we get some state monies, and then we provide some instruction to departments in the whole general area here, career and volunteer. So in addition to that, we run training programs for all town agencies. Some we run, some they run at the facility. So DPW comes and does their OSHA training, and the police department does a lot of their training, and some SWAT training in the back also. We have groups coming in to teach people how, certify people to put in car seats and to CPR and all sorts of training things. Plus we have departments, agencies that use the building for their nightly meetings, the Board of Finance, the Planning and Zoning, who else, Pat? Inland wetland, yeah. So, I mean, the building is used more and more, and is a great thing for the town. We don't really have that much meeting space, as you see in this building, it's not, there's not that much space. So it does get great, it does get great use. So we do, for the revenue for it, we get state grants. We get 127,000 state grants. We charge fees for some of the training classes that we give to, say, young people who want to get firefighter 1's certification, firefighter 2 certification, hazmat, from some little classes that we'll give on all sorts of fire-related or emergency-related training. Let's see, and then we also, the town also gives some money for just to help support the fire department's training. And the great thing about our training is that, we do put some money into the training center from the town budget, but it comes back to us in droves, because we're able to train while we're on duty for a lot of different things. So, during each day when people are working, we'll send them down. If when, a fire crew wants to practice extrication, they'll go down and they'll be able to do it in town, but they're available in case, there are a lot of fire calls, they can then go back into service, and we're not sending them, upstate somewhere where they're really not available for us. So it saves us money, but it gives us some great, the ability to train in classroom or out on the facility. A lot of times we'll go down there and we'll see, a lieutenant is down there, and we'll say, "What are you doing down here?" "Well, I called down. I wanted to show my crew we have new people in the crew. I wanted to practice stretching hose lines." It's something you have to keep doing, and especially when you're new, they get a little excited and all the hose comes off and it's in a jumble. But if they practice it and they get, once you get the kind of routine and you've got the muscle memory, and in an emergency, it goes a lot more smoothly. So we encourage that. We'd love to see it. It happens every day.
Any questions?
Just a comment, I just think for the benefit of the public, in the revenue section you mentioned, the town gives us money, and I think that might have been confusing. Just state that this is a self-supporting account, so that it's not necessarily, that was a little, yeah.
That's a good clarification, that our revenue line is a net zero. Any questions, Ms. Patrick? Agreed that it is a great, we're very lucky to have that facility in town. We use it for so many different things. And it's another great thing about Fairfield.
Yes.
Any public comment about emergency management? All right, seeing none. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hopefully we won't be doing a lot of like emergency management lately with these storms, so hopefully
I know.
we'll
We'll have a little break before hurricane season.
yeah.
Then we'll see you again.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna move on to
Thank you very much.
retiree benefits. And we are joined by our new HR director, Gina Williams.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to your first.
My
Your very first Fairfield budget meeting.
very first. Hi, good morning. So I'm Regina Williams. I'm the new Director of Human Resources. I started about 3 weeks ago. So I will speak as best I can to my budget, and certainly if you have any questions that I can't answer today, I'm happy to take them and respond accordingly.
It starts on page 64.
Okay.
Okay. 64, 65. Yeah,
So
we're starting with retiree benefits.
right. So the percent change, do you just want me to go into the summarize it?
Yeah,
The
just to-
percent change that was earmarked in this budget is 7.05%. Retiree benefits.
And just a little, and
Mm-hmm.
you can have finance if they have anything to add as well, because I know they were in terms of the numbers that we had for OPEB, for town retirees, that just, we get those numbers straight from,
The actuary, they come directly from
Yeah.
the actuary Milliman. And those will be objects 52-105, 52-110, 52-310, and 52-311. Those are all provided by the actuary.
yeah, so this budget really is, all the numbers pretty much are come from our actuarial consultant, that the HR department is not responsible for calculating this, it's in their budget, because they manage the people. Any questions on retiree benefits?
No, just to note that it's increased quite a bit, right? 1.5 million.
Guys,
Looks like health, basically health is health insurance.
Yeah.
the health, okay.
What? Like everywhere.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
this is as, you know, as we've been talking, pretty much a recurring theme in our budget discussions. As we said, our human resources, they're our most valuable assets, but they, in addition to salaries, you know, the health insurance and numbers are big drivers in the town budget as well as in the Board of Education
Right.
budget.
Right.
The town manages the pension and OPEB for the Board of Ed's non-certified staff, the paraprofessionals, and those that are not covered through the teacher retirement fund. Those numbers appear in the Board of Education budget, but I also just want you to know in terms of shared services that our town HR department time is spent also managing, a significant amount of time of our benefits managers' time is also spent managing the concerns of the retirees from the Board
Oh,
of Ed.
yes, yes.
All right, any questions on, public comment on retiree benefits?
No.
All right, seeing none. We'll move on down to active employee benefits, starts on page 66.
So it looks like the earmarked here for the increase is 12.64%. I think that's a reasonable projection. We don't have the renewal rates yet on our health insurance.
And so these are from Cigna, but we did, the 13 point, there was a cap in terms of they couldn't go any higher in terms of an increase when we switched health insurance providers. So we're using that number, just planning for budgeting. The highest right now per the contract that we can go is that increase. Hopefully it'll come in less, but we haven't received updated information yet from, hang on,
When will you get that?
July 1st.
July 1st?
Before the
Late June,
budget?
Late June. You'll get the new rates late June.
Usually you crunch those numbers or you get some kind of something from them during the budget
I mean, we can try, but that's
to
typically.
be able to craft what you need.
We can reach out to Cigna or the consultant and try and get something sooner.
Yeah, I did remind them, Tom, I reminded them yesterday again, so I will keep reminding them and see if we can have something to work from.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in office, we were, I'd be in the CFO's office on the phone with them, trying to get more detailed
Right.
information, basically on, for your example, like if there was somebody who had a very high health issue that was gonna really tip the scale, which actually did end up happening, we had a fight.
I just want to, Mr. House, can you just come up and just speak to the change in our health insurance provider?
Yep. Yeah, I think the important point to note is that there was a cap in terms of how much the increase can be, and I think it's 13%.
Regardless?
Regardless. When we negotiated the changeover last year, they set the rate for fiscal '26, and there was a cap on how much they can charge for fiscal '27.
And also just being self-insured versus fully insured, and that change and how that impacts just approach to budgeting, because it's different now for this fiscal year as opposed to when we, kind of had to calculate different.
So even if they're, really large claims, there's a cap in terms of how much they can increase the rate for fiscal '27. Now, when we get to the next fiscal year, they could increase it then, but if so, we would then look at the possibility of going to a different carrier.
That's very disruptive, obviously.
Yeah, it's not something you want to do, but you want to manage your cost as best as you can, so.
Right, so there's a cap on any catastrophic illness issues regardless,
Correct.
and they won't ding the town.
The agreement is there's a cap in terms of, we have a premium and there's a cap on the premium. And in terms of the cost of paying off those claims, that's on them.
I know there was some conversations from town employees regarding the coverage when we changed. How are we doing there? I mean,
We've made some progress there. We've been meeting with Aon to make sure that if there's anything that we can get Cigna to agree to without impact on cost, then we're doing that. So we've been actively communicating with them, and we have made some good progress towards that. And we are working to address individual concerns as they're coming up.
which probably added a lot of workload, I know, when you change.
It is.
But the benefit of just going from self-insured to fully insured, I don't know if either one wants to speak, just the difference, benefits to that.
Well, it's certainly, you don't have the volatility in terms of your obligation because you're fixed, and that really is, that's important.
Right, I agree.
And I think that makes it, easier now to budget to some extent, as opposed to when you were crafting your budgets in terms of what that volatility was and how much the town had a budget for and just put into the internal service fund to cover those costs, and now that volatility under this new plan has lessened. Now, we're still at the subject of just the rate increases, and that's where volatility still stays.
So the supplemental contribution, that's up 1528, is that,
That
can you share?
that
a little
assumes that we are going to make a transfer probably from the internal service fund, as we did in fiscal '26, to reduce the net cost to the town and the mill levy, the tax levy.
And the funding was in the internal service fund in prior years to cover those healthcare claims. Okay. Any questions? All right, any public comment on active benefits? All right, we're gonna move on. Human resources, just.
So it looks like we have a small revenue of $1,000 for an FOI request. So we'll take that.
That was 1/8 FOI request?
I don't know.
No, that's just
Oh,
the fees.
yeah,
That's
that's
the
total.
fees
Yeah,
that we pay
I was
for,
gonna say, wow.
That would have been a big one.
someone really likes information.
So our operating budget, I know that quite a bit was transferred from the HR budget over to risk management, and that contributes to the decrease in the overall change that you see at the bottom. There wasn't much of any increase anywhere. The only thing I would say is line 51180 fringe for the town match. I just to clarify that increase, that was the potential employer match for those employees within the department who may contribute to a 457 plan.
Any questions about HR? So everything that has the 100% reduction, those are all the risk management functions that have moved out of HR, just for the public's information.
Who's handling FOI requests?
Risk management?
That's
That's Calvin?
Calvin that's moved out of HR.
Because I've heard some residents reached out saying they have waited like 8, 9, 10 months and still are waiting for responses to the requests. Is there?
We can wait till
No
that,
problem.
we can wait, Gina hasn't,
Oh.
she's only been here 3 weeks.
Okay.
And the FOI, that person is not in her department, so
Can we
I,
get some
So we can wait till-
information?
we can wait when
It doesn't have to be today, but something to the board about what is the status of our current FOI request and how many have gone, how long and what are outstanding?
We can do that, yes.
and we can, when risk manager reports, you can ask more questions
Oh,
about that.
okay.
It wasn't trying to shut you
So
down.
he's handling that?
Yeah,
Okay.
we had the position is just under,
Under
it's
it.
not in HR anymore, so
Okay.
just didn't want to put Ms.
Okay.
Williams on the spot to answer questions for a function she doesn't oversee.
Very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions? All right, you're all set?
Thank you.
All right, any public comment for human resources? Seeing none?
Nice meeting you. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome,
Good luck.
thank you. All right, we are moving along today. We're moving on to finance. Mr. Harris. And this is starting on page 81.
The finance department is responsible for the accounting, reporting, treasury, internal audit, a host of functions that are summarized on page 81. During the current fiscal year, the risk management function, along with the four-year responsibilities, were transferred from HR into the the finance department. In terms of the budget, there really are three segments. There's a revenue segment that on page 83, and then there are two really expense segments, the traditional finance functions and the risk management function. I'll speak to the first two, then I'll ask our Director of Risk Management, Joy Barbera, to come up and speak to the risk management expense portion. In terms of revenues on page 83, the bulk of the revenues really are derived directly from the Office of Policy Management that comes out of the governor's budget. So if you look at objects 40040 down through 41196, those are really right off of the OPM schedule that comes out. Typically, there will be, I mean, last year there were some relatively small changes after the initial budget came out. I believe they were on the phone access lines, but the other categories, I believe, were unchanged. In terms of other revenue categories, we have rental income. These are incomes derived from the rental of town properties and use of facilities for communication towers. One of the big increases in rental income is object 42512. There's an increase of 72,901. That relates to Child's Garden, and it's due to the fact that in fiscal 26 there was a new lease that was entered into. So that lease was in effect part of fiscal 26, and the increase reflects the fact that it's going to be in effect for the full year of 27. So that's just a timing thing. The other item that I'll mention is, at least one other item, is dividend and interest income. This is income from our bond investment of funds from bond issuances. Our portfolio, the town's portfolios, averages around $230 to $235 million. The decrease in the budget from 27 to 26 is due to an assumption that, well, actually it's real now, that rates are going to be lower than what we had in the budget in 27. So, I'm sorry, 26. When we did the budget for 26, we assumed that at that point rates were around 4%. We assumed that any bond that matured would be reinvested at 3.75%. The rates now are down to about 3.5%, likely to go lower. I think in the budget we've assumed that, you know, there's probably going to be a 25 basis point drop in the rate. The other big change is the money market rates for our bank from M&T are significantly lower than when we did the budget. I mean, those are down below 3% now. So that drives that change. Let's see. If there are questions on any of the other revenue items, I'll be happy to.
Any questions on revenue? No. Yeah, and we won't know, some of the numbers in state funding until the state budget is farther along.
One thing we're going to look at in terms of investment income is, it came up at one of our Board of Finance meetings. I think in the past, when we buy bonds, generally you don't buy them at face value, you pay a premium or there's a discount. And I took a quick look last night. It looks like in the Schwab account, the net difference between the bond, the discount and the premium is about $500,000. So what you would do is you would amortize that over a period of time. So that's something we'll follow up on. In terms of expenses on page 85, just in terms of, basically the big cost here are people. And, we have had significant turnover in the finance department. I think I joined in January of last year. And as of today, there's only one person in finance who was here when I joined. So we've had almost a complete turnover, and we recently, the internal auditor recently resigned. So at this point, we have two open positions, the senior accountant position and the director of internal audit. which HR is working with us to hopefully fill soon. In terms of, so there is an increase in regular payroll. That's due to the shift of personnel from HR into finance. The grant manager was in operations, and risk manager was in HR. There was also an analyst, the four-year analyst has also moved into finance. And I think he is on those two are in the risk management budget. In terms of other expenses, they are really relatively flat year over year. So payroll really is a significant driver. In terms of fees and pros, we do have, one of the things the first select person indicated in terms of priority was to really put in place, look at our controls and get policies and procedures. One of the issues we've had with turnover is we have a lot of institutional knowledge that goes out of the door, and we don't have how-tos in terms of things that needs to be done. So we want to, document those kind of things. So we may need some outside help to get that done on a timely basis. So in terms of the finance expense budget before going to risk management, are there any questions?
Any questions?
Okay, in terms of risk management, I mentioned that we have the personnel changes. We do have a new risk manager, Joe Barbera. I'm going to ask Joey to come up and speak to the risk management portion of it.
Morning. Like Tom said, I'm Joey. I'm the new director of risk management. I've been with the town 3.5 months, and it's been a fun 3.5 months. So regarding the budget, you'll see in the budget, primarily where the increases are for my world is going to be in the realm of our liability and our coverages that are under liability. The current market has some swings to it, and you'll see that there are some increases in there. I do have some good news that I received today out of a meeting with our insurance agents that we can expect a no greater increase than 8% across the board. So if we averaged out the increase would have been 12.21% averaged. It is now going to be no more than 8% averaged, which does equal a significant savings when you apply that to the variety of different coverages and the value of those coverages. You'll also see under property, there is an additional coverage added, requested, budgeted for auto physical damage, for police vehicles, which will be believed transferred to another budget line. However, that came in much lower than expected. It was presented at the Board of Finance. The expected quote that we expected was $90,000. The maximum quote for the full fleet of police vehicles will be no more than $47,000, depending on the deductible option that we select, which we are currently working on, picking the best deductible for the department. Any other questions regarding coverages in the insurance premiums and so forth? Workers' comp, we are self-insured, and we are under contract with the PMA company for our third-party administration, but all costs, as you can see, come directly out of our budget currently.
Questions?
I don't know if this is possible or not, but since all of this came from other departments and got put in here, it looks like a 0%, but it's not. So it's hard to look at it and summarize. And I don't know if there's a sheet we can get where it's that position was taken out of HR and it was for 10,000 and now it's 120. Because it's not a 0% increase or decrease. Right. It's very hard to look at that and be comparable. So I don't know if we can get a sheet on that or something.
We can do that.
We can do that, and this is just, it's spit out this way, being that it's.
Yeah, I mean, I understand how the budget book works.
No, I'm gonna do it just for.
Yeah. I think going on for future boards.
It'll be
easier.
Very good point. And before, the director of risk management role, the assistant director of HR was also assuming that function, which was a lot, and I will just say, and wonderful having a dedicated risk manager, and I say that except when he's like, hey, can I just share when something goes wrong? It's like, now what? But he's like, I got it covered. So getting a lot done, saving us money, looking for us to be safer and smarter, and again, want to welcome you, a great addition to the town, and looking forward to continue to work with you.
Welcome, thank you.
Thank you.
And, just to piggyback, I said it would be helpful because it's hard to determine, like, we didn't have some of these roles, like, for example, the grants manager was part-time, and then it was in mid-budget, just changed to full-time without it going through the budget process, so kind of getting a better sense of, what
The
was it
movement.
before,
The movement.
because there has been a significant amount of changes, in addition to staff, also salary, so it is hard to kind of look at it in the big picture.
Okay.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And also, we're going to be, just in terms, I mentioned it yesterday with Board of Ed, risk management is one of those things that we say is a shared service. We're taking just a deeper dive in terms of how we are managing the risk with Board of Ed, and just in terms of things that are coming to the town, just from a managerial perspective as well. We met with the superintendent, and Scotto, who handles the rest for the Board of Ed, and going to be continuing these conversations just to make sure that we've got proper policies and procedures in place, and that there's collaboration between us, just, protecting our town, just from a liability standpoint, both for, the health and safety of people that work and go to school here, but also just from a financial perspective, that we don't want to, open ourselves up to financial risk. So, again, thank you, Mr. Rivera, for your leadership in this, and I'm looking forward to continuing the work. All right, back to you, Mr. Harris.
So that completes the discussion of finance. Board of Finance is next, I guess.
Any public comment on finance? Before we go to Board of Finance. Seeing none, okay, we'll move on to Board of Finance.
107.
107, thank you. 107?
106, 107, yeah.
106, 107.
The big item here, fees and pros, really, that's just the audit fee that's paid to the independent accountants. The other cost of the Board of Finance clerks, and that's about it. You see advertising, that's the cost of their new gavels and whatever.
Nameplates.
Name tags,
and-
nameplates, yeah. So there really isn't much else there. Yeah, that's about it for the Board of Finance.
I don't even know if they need that now. Maybe we can reduce that a little bit. There's not an election, there's gonna be no name changes, hopefully.
Should have already been done.
All right, any questions?
Do they get battle pay?
Did they get?
I get battle pay.
All right. Any public comment on the Board of Finance budget? All right, seeing none. Miscellaneous contingency,
61, 62, looks like.
page 61, 62.
This really is just a undesignated reserve for relatively minor unforeseen costs, not set aside for any specific purpose. I think You know, we did increase it this year a little bit, but,
Any questions?
What is this?
Just miscellaneous things just come up that you don't necessarily have in a particular line item or you didn't budget for. Incidental costs for labor negotiations, for fees for expert witnesses, bills incurred by special committees committees have no regular budget. I will put it out there, like Sustainable Fairfield has come to us asking for a budget request. We didn't include them in this budget, but just that we have some boards and commissions, you know, who might, or other committees that may just need funding for something, so it's just a contingency.
I mean, just to say, you know, from 23, it's gone up from 64, now we're looking at 55,000, so, I mean, I think there should be some level of sort of oversight of who's asking for what, and
yeah, this would not be used, first it would have to be approved by the first select person.
right.
And you know, this may require board approval, I don't know that it does. I know the general contingency does.
Yeah, it's just a lot. I mean, it's a huge jump, you know, from 64.
You know, we really kind of really peel back a lot of expenses as we went through the departments. So we're saying, you know, the thought is, you know, we've taken a lot out of the department, so this gives us a little bit of cushion, you know, if we have to go back and address some of those costs that we've taken
No,
out.
I hear that, but Christine's point, you know, that if a board is now asking for something, I mean, from 64 to 55,000, so, you know, I don't want to see stuff like pet
Well, I
projects.
think, no, yeah, I mean, I think that if
things
there was
like that.
something like that, we'd bring it before, like
Yeah,
the Board of
yeah.
Select Persons. It's more, you know, we cut little line items in certain budgets for fees and professional services or travels, or if something comes up that, a little bit of extra, but we can, you know, take a closer look on that and have more discussion about reporting out. I'm not suggesting that one committee can come. I want to put it out there, like, I don't foresee one commission or board coming with a special project and
Right,
asking
okay.
for, you know, $20,000. If this is really just kind of a, really kind of an emergency situation, or if something special comes along that we want to move forward, I would bring it before this board for discussion. To Mr. Harris's point, we can see if it needs to go before the boards for approval. I'm going to ask, being that we talked about going to an executive session for contingency, if we can just maybe move that to the end? So we can talk about debt service,
You want to do
unemployment.
that today?
Well, this is it. This is,
I mean, executive session, I thought,
we don't have to notice it,
oh, no?
being for this line item.
Okay. I thought I know we didn't discuss it at the meeting or otherwise, but I thought
think
we'd just
before
do it
this,
Monday, before the meeting, before the vote, but I'm happy to do it.
Well, I
mean,
think
it's up
that,
to Marcy.
I think that we can do it then too, but I think just to discuss some of the assumptions in this, being that they're personnel related.
But it's not a special meeting, so we can do that, yeah.
Yeah, it's not a special meeting, and even, you know, even in a regular, you know,
Yeah,
if there's some things, if something
yeah.
comes up that's really not.
Yeah.
So why don't we, this
Move
way,
it.
we can just move it, and then the public, you know,
Yeah.
they would not be participating, they can hear all of the budget items. We can turn off Fairfield TV, have that
Yep.
discussion, and then adjourn. Okay, so we're gonna skip contingency. And move on to debt service.
Debt service is 203 and 204. Uh, 203 really is a detail of the cost, and 204 is a more condensed or summarized version. I'm going to speak from 204. So these are the costs associated with, it's the debt service that's associated with our financing. We've had bond financing over the years, so annually, semi-annually, we make principal payments and interest payments. So these really are just the cost of, associated with those payments that are required. So there's principal here and their interest cost, as well as the repayment of whatever we banned. Right now, our effective interest rate on our total debt, we've got about $219 million of debt. The effective rate right now is, based on the budgeted interest expense, is a little under 4%. It's about 3.7% around numbers.
What is the fees and professional services reflect?
Fees and professional service will be the investor fees. We have a investment manager. So that would be investor fees as well as legal fees. We use Phoenix Investor, Phoenix Advisors, I guess, yeah.
Good. Any public comment on debt service? Seeing none, we'll move on to unemployment compensation.
108, 109, I think. Um, 109 and 109 and 110. 109 and 110.
109 and 110.
The budgeted cost is basically flat, and, this is really just the best guess that we can make based on claims from year to year. There's a consultant that is used to coordinate the processing of the claims with the state. Basically, when a claim is filed, the information is provided to Human Resources, and they will confirm whether or not the applicant is eligible for Social Security, and this will be the town's portion of the cost. The billing would go to HR, and they would approve the bill, and it's paid by finance.
Any questions?
Okay.
All right, any public comment on unemployment compensation? Seeing none. All right, we are going to move on to contingency. Given that this is personnel related, and some of it somewhat related to collective bargaining, assumptions made for open contracts. So we're going to invite Mr. Harris,
Ben.
Ms. Roru, and we'll call Ms. Williams to join us as well. At this point, ask the public, before we go into executive session, any public comment?
Sure.
And if you do, just
How do I
just-
get a copy of that budget report?
the budget book it's online.
Okay.
So you can find it. There's a budget page on the town website under finance, and the detail will be there.
Very good.
And we'll be posting any presentations, any documentation that, as the budget changes, we'll be posting that on the website as well, so the public can follow along.
Great. Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
I don't think everyone's really familiar with how to use our website. They don't think finance, they think finance department. I think it might be better if they could move that link right on the landing page, because we are in the midst of the budget process and it's going to be going on the next several months. And, if someone just clicks on Fairfield CT, it goes them right to the page, and then it could be like, budget document. Because I don't know if people necessarily know. I know they don't, because I dealt with it for years, that people don't know how to find the town clerk. They don't know how to find a whole lot of things on there. So I just think it would be just really super easy and user-friendly.
And you know what, I think it was actually on the homepage, and I think that we took it off to put, there's only certain information you can put in, like kind of the
Like
big
a link.
warning. And we put the Blizzard information in there, but we can definitely go back and have it.
Yeah, I
On the
just think
homepage
maybe
to
a
make
little
it
easier.
Good suggestion. So for the public, this will close. We'll go into executive session to discuss contingency. The Board of Select Persons will be voting on the budget on Monday, beginning at 10 a.m. We will also be having the building department present its budget prior to the vote. Just, a building official was,
Motion to go into executive
Oh,
session.
can
all right,
recess?
all right, well, sorry. Building is gonna present, then Monday, there'll be deliberations and the vote. With that, thank the public for attending. We're gonna kick everybody offline. Nothing else is gonna be happening after executive session except adjournment. Motion to go in executive
So
session.
moved.
Second.
And we already did that. Mr. Harris, Mr. Rover, and Ms.
All
Williams.
in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Tough.
Yep.
Yeah.
You really are. I wouldn't even come to these meetings. I would've been like-
You know what, it's a good distraction.
Yeah, I would imagine, right?
I stopped my other job just because I'm a physical therapist in home care and it's just like,
Wow.
that's just too much.
Could I have a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Kupchak, second by Ms. Follier. Motion to adjourn? Ms. Kupchak, seconded by Ms. Follier. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay.